The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for a webinar presented to you by ACCA. The topic for today's webinar is Developing Self and Industry Awareness for Career Progression. Let me begin today's webinar with a thought. You were never just an accountant, and you will never be just an accountant. Good afternoon, ACCA. For those who don't know me, I am Ankit Hemani. I am Brisbane-based accounting and finance professional coach. What I do is I help accounting and finance professionals take their careers and their potential to the next level. I have dedicated my entire 15 years to research this area and really have found what it really takes for someone to elevate to the next level in their career. Look, I'm quite honored and quite excited to be presenting today and challenged at the same time. I'm honored because I'm presenting in front of ambitious individuals who have taken time from their busy schedules and are here to participate in this webinar, and challenged because the time that I have today is quite limited, because I'm going to be discussing some key strategies, some key mindsets. I'm going to be sharing some tools that usually takes me around 3 to 6 months to teach someone. So I will be covering a lot of things, and I will be dedicating a lot of time at the end of the webinar, where I will highly encourage you to ask as many questions as possible. I cannot stress how much important the question answer time frame of this webinar is going to be, because a lot of people feel shy about asking questions, but I can tell you the question that you are thinking about, I'm sure someone else is thinking as well. So you could be doing favor to a lot of people by asking question. And look, no question is silly, right? I mean, everyone has got questions and concerns about this area, so feel free to ask questions when the time is. However, if for whatever reason, if you don't feel comfortable asking question in this forum, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you have any further question. But even if you not have any questions, I would highly encourage you to connect with me on LinkedIn. I share a lot of industry tips and knowledge on that platform, which is another way of keeping up to date with what I'm going on. So for today, as I said, ask a lot of questions, take notes, and to get the most out of today, I would probably encourage you to keep distractions away, all the phones and everything, because as I said, it's going to be quite dense in terms of the topic that we're going to be covering. 2021 and 2022 is the last 24 months of our life. Wow, what a roller coaster they have been. I mean, when the pandemic started, all of us shifted to working from home. And what a challenge was that. Missing our colleagues, missing interactions with other human beings, hanging out with our friends at work, all of that was not possible anymore. Home studying with young kids, if anyone has got that, would understand that what a challenge that is. And conducting meetings on Teams and Zooms are no fun. And now that the world is trying to get back to any sort of normality, we are all of a sudden realizing that we actually hated waking up early in the morning, traveling in traffic, struggling to get to work, packing lunches, organizing kids to go to school, and having a constant stress that are we going to make it on time to our 8:30 meeting. It's fair to say that the last 24 months in most of our lives have been one of most changes that we had to go through. This reminds me of a story before I begin. I had a conversation with a friend of mine in transport industry. They said to me that currently the transport industry is facing unprecedented labor shortages, and it's global. Everywhere across the world, the drivers, the aging workforce of the drivers is quitting. They're resigning from their jobs because they've had enough over the last 2 years, and they're choosing to retire early. And what this is doing is it's creating undue pressure on technology companies to come up with solutions. So there is a big void where the technology is still catching up and the industry has got severe shortages. Now, you may be thinking, how is this relevant to the accounting industry? So let me tell you a scenario or a conversation that I was having with a client, a mentee of mine. She is someone who is in late 20s, early 30s. She moved to Australia from India around 15 years ago. And since then, she's studied her accounting, got a job, and she's got to a level where she's at a senior accountant, finance manager type level within her organization. And since then, she's struggling. She's struggling to progress any further within her organization or in her career. She's tried everything possible to progress, but she just can't progress. The problem that she's facing is there's a lot of change that is happening in the accounting industry at the moment. There's a lot of options available. There's a lot of things that are getting thrown at us. She just can't understand which option is right for her. She was feeling frustrated. She was losing her confidence. What I had to do to help her was to address two things. I had to build her industry awareness, and I had to build her self-awareness. Now, talking about industry awareness, if so much change is happening in the industry and technology around us, what is our role going to look like? What are the employers of the world asking from us at the moment? How do we really focus our energies into something which is going to be worthwhile? So in 2019, my organization was going through Industry 4.0, which is an industry revolution of automizing your organization. As the very first project that they picked was putting robots into one of our largest warehouse facility. The gentleman who was heading the project at that time, he was a British guy in his late 50s. He came to me and he said, "I want you on the project from day one." And I was like, wow, sure. I mean, I will get involved in your project. I had absolutely no idea as to what I would be contributing to a IT type project. He continued. He said that I want you on the project on day one. I want you to evaluate all the options that are available. I want you to verify the return on investment on each options, and I want to validate the savings and the risk of picking each option. It made perfect sense. However, because he was such an experienced guy, he could tell from my face that I wasn't really feeling comfortable. I wasn't really sure as to what he wants me to do in this project. He said, "You look nervous, mate. What's your thought?" I said, "Look, all this IoT, in artificial intelligence, Industry 4.0 is new to me. I'm not really sure if I could be a good partner on this project. I mean, I'm just a numbers guy. I mean, aren't we all? We just numbers guy. He understood where I was coming from. He took a deep sigh and he said, mate, I am an accountant as well. And back in my days, we used to do our accounts, our ledgers on paper. And I can tell you, I was the fastest person in the whole team who could do the accounting on the piece of paper manually. And I was very, very proud about that. But when the computers came in, I was shocked to see how quickly they can do the job that took me days and days and days. I was shocked and scared. However, I did not stop there. I made computers my friend. I learned computers and adopted as part of my life. The lesson that I learned from my experience was there's always going to be something new. As an accounting and finance professional, what we need to keep in mind is our role, or what the industry is demanding from accounting professionals, is to be curious, be interested in organization and what organization's doing, be adaptable. Doesn't matter if you have been doing things in a certain way for the last 10, 15, 20 years. But guess what? If the industry demands change, you need to be adaptable. And the last and the most important thing is, yes, you can be curious, interested, and adapt, but how open are you to being taught something new? That is the key skill that's required. And if you can't be taught, then none of the above matters. I was actually fortunate enough that the organization that I used to work for actually believed in investing time and money in their employees to upskill them, to make sure that they had the right tools, right skills, and the right mentors to achieve what they wanted to achieve, which in turn helped the organization achieve their goals. And I was lucky enough that I was aligned to those values as well, because I personally believed in self-investing. So if that's one thing that you could take out of today's session, is to make a commitment to yourself that you would invest your time and your energy, not in just yourself, but also your team members. That would mean that you would have satisfied your role as an accountant right today. Moving on, so the news of the project, of the Industry 4.0 project, spread like a wildfire within the organization. And with that came a lot of anxiety. A lot of people were actually worried as to what options are going to get picked. How will that impact their working conditions? Will that mean that they will lose their jobs? There was a lot of angst for people. So what they did was they turned to me. They turned to me for clarity. They turned to me for understanding what was going on. So since then, my job as a finance person on the project became to break down the components of the project and explain to them why it was necessary for the organization to do that project, what are the benefits to the organization to do that project, and what competitive advantage we will receive as an organization if we went ahead with a project of that scale. And on the flip side, what will happen, or what are the consequences if we did not do the project? Since then, my role on the project, or the expectation from me was to keep the project on time. As you can appreciate, that a project of this scale has got a lot of distractions. It has got a lot of interruptions. However, when I have been sponsoring 30 IT professional who charges $1,500 a day, and if the project gets delayed by 10 days, that is a significant impact to the project. So my role was to make sure that I'm capturing that information, I'm communicating that information, I am actually reporting them in a timely fashion, in a fashion that's digestible by everyone. The next expectation that was put on me was to keep the project on task, on cost, I should say. I mean, look, this is easy for us, right? As an accountant, we can't stop thinking about actual versus budget, actual versus forecast. And in this option as well, we knew the amount of money that we had committed towards the project. So now my role was to keep the cost tracking clean so that we know if we are tracking right or wrong. And the last thing is to keep the business free of risk. The project of this scale, where so much IT is changing, it opens up a lot of risk of privacy, security, compliance. I mean, is the technology that you're putting in to your organization, is it compliant? Does it open you with any internal audit risk? Is there going to be any data fraud? Is it going to be any loopholes where someone can manipulate money? There's a lot of things that we need to take care of when we are removing human interactions and automizing that with the robots. So having robots replace tasks or function within an organization has been observed to actually increase the demand of accountants. Now, the reason I'm telling you this story is to show you that the industry, the accounting industry, is moving away, actually, I should say, from the good old reporting and value add. It's more towards value creation. What value are you creating within the organization? And it's more towards business partnering, which means that you actually have a seat on the table in decision making. So the decision making is not just left to the owners of the organization or the board of directors. We as a finance professional are expected to turn up and fill that seat. Doesn't matter how big or small the organization is. Now, as they say, that charity begins at home. How do we even start this journey? How do we even make sure that we are employable? I mean, the first step, yes, you have industry awareness. Now, the first step is to have self-awareness. And what I mean by self-awareness is knowing who you are. What are your values? What are your needs? And what are your strengths and weaknesses? And if I was to pick one, I would probably start with strengths and weaknesses. And look, it sounds easy, but there is no system that has been given to us to really understand, or how do we formally evaluate our strengths and weaknesses. So what I've done for today's webinar is I have created a 4-step model for you. And that model is using the science of neuropsychology. So you can reliably say that it's pretty good and it's pretty reliable. What it does, it addresses all aspects of your thinking. So there won't be any blind spots left if you do your self-evaluation using this model. If you have access to a piece of paper and a pen, I would highly recommend you to draw what I'm going to present, and probably do the exercise with me while you are here on the call, because I can guarantee you 80% of us would probably forget about this when we leave. So if you want to get most out of this, I would highly recommend that you do this small exercise, and I'll give you a little bit of time as well, so you have you know, the knowledge and the IP that you can take with you. Okay, so if you have a piece of paper, great, draw 4 boxes, but if you haven't, just probably try to follow my screen. So 4-step model to evaluate your strengths and your weaknesses. Start with your accounting and finance skills. What I would like to do here is name 2 skills that you are championing. And I would like you to name 2 skills that you think, you know what, I need some work in this area. What I mean by accounting skills is, how much do you know about project costing? How much do you know about bill of material costing? How much do you know about management accounting? How much do you know about business partnering? How much do you know about tax effect accounting? How much do you know about international tax? And how much do you know about the crypto ledger? How much do you know about the accounting for cryptocurrency? So those are the few things that comes to my mind.
Hi, Ankit.
All you need to do is just pick. Sorry.
Hi, apologies. We just noticed that the slides are not moving. It's still on the first one. Can you just double check, please? Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Can you see the career checkpoint?
Yes, now we can see career checkpoint.
Perfect. Now, if I go into full screen, do you still see it?
Can you move the slides a little? Let's see. No, we can just see a blank screen. Can you just put it on the way it was? And then, yeah,
okay.
I think this way.
Perfect. That's
okay,
fine.
Great.
That's
Thanks.
more than fine with me. Yeah, cool. All right. Thanks for letting me know. Thank you. Okay, cool. All right. So moving on from the accounting skill, the second topic is collateral. So now what this means is what assets that you have in your bank. And what I mean by that is not your physical bank, but how good is your resume, your CV? How good is your offer letter or your covering letter that you put with your applications? How good is your LinkedIn profile? How many people are you connected with? How many people that you have in your network? How strong is your network? How many people that you have in your network, like coaches and mentors and friends and colleagues that you can reach out to? How good you have that? So what I would like you to do is just pick 2 things that you have which you are very proud of, and 2 things that you believe needs a bit of a work. And same for the accounting skills. Just pick 2. If you don't have a list 15 skills that you are good at, or 15 skills that you think that you need improvement on, because by doing that, you're just going to overwhelm yourself. So what I would recommend is just pick 2 skills that you are reasonably good with or reasonably proud about, and pick 2 skills in collateral, or 2 things in collateral that you are really good with. So if you think that your resume is very good and your covering letter is very good, put it there. And if you think that your LinkedIn profile needs a bit of a work, or you haven't got any mentors that help you progress, put it in there. Okay. The next thing is technology. And what I mean by that is, what tools have you used in the past that you are really good with? Is it Microsoft Excel products? Is it SAP? Is it Oracle? You know, what technology that you believe that you are master with? And on the flip side, you may have been hearing about a lot of different things that are coming in. For example, accounting for crypto. Do you know what's that about? Do you know how the crypto ledgers work? Do you know how how the IoT accounting works? There's a lot of different things that are out there, and I'm sure you can find 2 things to put on the list that needs a bit of a work, and 2 things that you are particularly proud about. The last thing on your 4-point career checkpoint is soft skills. And I want to pay particular focus here because everyone has got 1 or 2 skills that they are really good at. However, it's the 2 skills that we have not been able to develop ourselves in or spend time really investing into developing that, and we lack in that department. So to become highly employable, it's very important that you are aware of those skills. And look, at the end of the day, when you go to an interview and if someone asks you, hey, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Guess what? You got it. Okay. And how to answer that question is a discussion for a different day. But at least you have an awareness that these are your strengths and these are your weaknesses. So after you finish this exercise, you would have a list of inventory that would give you your 8 top skills and 8 areas that needs improvement. So if you haven't written this down, I'll probably pause here for like 5 seconds, 10 seconds. I just want you to make a note of it before I move on to the next slide. Okay, just a reminder, yeah, please keep sending in your questions during the session. I will try to answer them after the last topic that we will be discussing pretty soon. It's quite important that we have that engagement because there's no point leaving the webinar without your questions being answered, because you invested all your time and energy to come to this, and I'll try my best to answer those for you today as well. Okay, so moving on. So look, having industry awareness and working towards self-awareness is pretty cool, right? But we know it's not that easy, right? It requires quite a bit of a mindset shift. It requires a strong and a resilient mindset to start. I mean, if you want to be talking about those major changes in your life, it will require significant change. And look, the problem with developing a growth mindset or a resilient mindset is everyone tells us that we need to have growth mindset, but no one really gives us tools or something very easy that we can implement straight away to develop a mindset that can adapt with the industry requirement, that can adapt with the changes that are happening in the technology, that can adapt the gaps that we have identified by performing the self-awareness exercise. So here's the thing. As humans, we like to buy new things. We like to buy new clothes, we like to buy new phones, we like to go on holidays, we like to experience new food, we like trying new things. However, when someone talks about change, there's something about the word change that we feel nervous straight away. So that makes you think that how come one change I'm happy about, And how come the other change I'm scared about? If I help you break that down, the first change, where we are buying new clothes, new technology, we are in control. Okay, so even if there is an element of surprise in that change, we are predicting that change. We want that surprise at the end of the journey. We are in total control of the journey and the destination. However, when the change is done to us, we do not have that control. And what that does is it kind of makes us feel nervous. We got no idea what the journey is going to be like. We got no idea what the destination is going to be like. We don't know how it's going to impact us. What if we can't go back to what we were before? There's a lot of questions that comes through our mind. The reason for that is, as human beings, even from the primitive age, we've been programmed to stay safe. Everything that we do, everything that we have created, even the houses that we build, are designed to keep us safe. And to make it worse, as an accountant, our jobs have trained us or have prepared us to be risk averse, which means that a person who's not an accountant is going to be super safe about the change that's going to happen. But being an accountant, we get extra cautious and we feel extra nervous about the changes that are happening. So now, what are some of the things that we can start looking at right now, right today, that will help us maintain a positive mindset or a resilient mindset when everything around us is changing, including the industry changes or even the changes that you had to make to yourself. So what I'm going to tell you is, without making it too complex, I'm going to give you 6 things that if you did even 1, 2, 3 of them, you will start feeling positive, resilient mindset to combat the industry changes. All right, so moving on, the first thing is communication. It goes without saying, if you believe that your communication skills are pretty good, well, I can tell you that you are wrong, because the day you start feeling that your communication skills are good, that means you have stopped improving them. So you can always improve your communication skills. It may be verbal, written, or speaking in a public forum. All 3 are required and expected from the accountants of today and future. So if you are a leader within the organization, I would highly encourage you to communicate as much as possible with your teams, especially when they're going with so much changes. And please try to communicate everything that's in your control. I understand that there could be certain situations which are of confidential nature and you can't give them all the details. However, by communicating the fact that, hey, X, Y, and Z person, I'm working on this project. Due to the nature of it, I can't really communicate much at this stage. However, when I can, you would be the first person that I would tell. This gives them the comfort that their leader, their manager, is being open and transparent. However, if you are not a leader within the organization, try to see if you can find out about any situation that you are feeling anxious about. So what I mean is, if your organization is going through a change and you are feeling nervous about it, the best thing you can do is ask question to the right person at the right time, and by asking the right question, you can address the feeling of uncertainty. The next thing is adapt. As we discussed earlier, one of our roles as accountant is to adapt. I mean, it's not a secret that change is the only thing that remains constant. Okay, you as a finance professional, as an accountant, you have an obligation to yourself that you adapt with what's happening. I mean, you don't want to be another Kodak when the digital cameras are coming. You don't want to be another Nokia when the smartphones are coming. Believe me, changing in short term is less painful than not changing in longer term. The next thing is upskill yourself, upskill your team. One of the best way to develop resilience to the changes is by staying relevant. Investing in self-development will help you stay relevant, and the return on investment for the accountants in the room is like 1000%. Okay, every dollar that I have invested in my personal development, I have doubled, tripled that quite easily. By investing in upskilling yourself and your team, it will give you the confidence that no matter what the change is, I'm ready for it. Okay, because you are one step ahead and you have the skills that are required. The next thing, which is one of the quite important as well, is to have a mentor and a coach who is helping you with the journey. You can guarantee that every successful athlete in the world has got a mentor and a coach. Every successful professional businessman has got a mentor and a coach. You can pick the top 20, top 30 billionaires of the world. They have a mentor and a coach. I cannot imagine my life without the support that I get from my mentors and my coaches, because what they're doing for me is every time that I feel stuck or every time I can't find a solution to a problem, I have someone to go to who's been there before or who has the tools to help me navigate that problem and come out of that quickly, which would take me weeks and weeks and weeks or months even to come out of it. So can't stress enough how important it is as a finance professional of the future to invest in having a good mentor and a coach. The next one on the list is self-awareness. We spoke about it earlier in the presentation, that how important it is to be self-aware. How can you analyze your strengths and your weaknesses? Being self-aware helps you knowing who you are. It helps you understand what exactly are your needs, what's going to make you happy and what's going to make you not happy, and what are some of the belief systems that you follow that's making you who you are. Another aspect of self-awareness is managing your emotions and knowing what makes you angry, what makes you frustrated, what makes you sad. Just by having that simple awareness, it shifts your mindset into action mode. Without the awareness, you're just going to be thinking, I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling angry about something, but I don't know why. Because most of the time you won't even know that you are feeling that. So you don't have that self-awareness to take action. The last thing that I would like to mention is having a downtime. Why is it important? We all have full lives, we all have busy lives, and we are always trying to do something to make our lives better. We're always trying to do something to make our careers better. However, we don't focus on downtime. What I mean here is having a ritual, having a routine to reward yourself at the end of a hard day. After spending 8, 10, 12 hours in your work, your businesses, this is what I'm going to do when I go home for myself. It could be watching TV, it could be playing a sport, it could be cooking a meal, it could be, listening to a particular type of music that you're interested in. Again, the self-awareness is a key here. However, what having this downtime routine does is it gives you something to look forward to, and it recharges your battery for next day's challenge. Because if you're just going to go from challenging day to challenging day, you're going to get burnt out pretty quickly after 10, 12 days. The research says it will take around 21 days before you burn out and you will lose interest in what you're doing. However, by breaking that pattern every day, after every 12 hours of work, having a downtime routine, it would really help you create that downtime. So that concludes the formal presentation that I had for you today. And if there are any questions, please keep them coming. And there are, these are my contact details. I have an open policy. Drop in an email, connect with me on LinkedIn just to say hello. Yeah, keep practicing about the topics we discussed for today. And I can already see some questions coming through. So apologies, I'm going to be looking at the screen now, and I'll try to address them as and when they come through. So, okay. All right, so are there environments which suit certain individuals and enable them to thrive better than if they're working in other environments which they would not be able to? Okay, so the way I understand this question is there any environment that would suit a particular certain individual where they will thrive better, and instead of working in the other environment where they won't be able to work to their full potential? Absolutely. And when I say environment, I talk about how good is the organization culture, how good is your team culture, how supportive your boss is, how toxic is the culture within your organization. Are you being rewarded for all your efforts? If you don't perform, do you have enough support? Is your organization interested in investing and upskilling yourself? All that, yes, it does help. However, the biggest mistake that you can make is making your environment, which could be your employer, your boss, your company, your team, responsible. I say it again, the biggest mistake you can make is making your environment responsible for your success. The best thing you can do is take control of your own destiny. Understand that this is the environment that doesn't work for me. However, these are the 3 things that I need to change so that I can increase my own potential, and then focus on changing them. Okay. All right. Next question is, how about adding a photo on the resume? So what is the best way to target a recruiter on LinkedIn? Look, it's a good idea to add a photo on the resume. However, what you got to think about is some organization where human resource is handling jobs, they may receive your resume. They may print it for the hiring manager. If they're not going to print it in the right color, if they're going to print it in black and white, it's not going to look that great. Okay. The golden tip, if you are going to attach photo to the resume, make sure that it's you convert the Word document into PDF. Otherwise, the location of the photo may go crazy. So it's a good idea. What's the best way to target a recruiter on LinkedIn? Well, the best way is to not target recruiters on LinkedIn. If you have a good enough LinkedIn profile, if you have content that you're publishing, if you have good enough network, recruiters will come looking for you. Okay. Even today, when I'm not looking for jobs, I would get at least one recruiter looking for me at least 15 days. All right. So speaking about just going to the next question, speaking about upskilling, is it unethical to think that if the employer doesn't allow time out of work or support financially, then as an employee, one need to rush to complete a particular course. My understanding that putting an employee under pressure, it does not help him and her to dedicate it to within the course, as employee knows that he won't be appreciated in the end of the year. So look, you can't, if you are employee or employer in this situation, you cannot force a course onto someone and vice versa. So I'll give you two scenarios. One is where my organization put me on the course, but that was because we had an open conversation that this is the area I want to develop into, and they came up with a course. Okay, so it becomes part of your negotiation skills that you said, okay, if you're going to be putting me on the course, I would need 1 hour a day to dedicate towards the course. However, in the other situation where I understood that I have a gap and I need to invest in upskilling myself, which was outside my employer arrangement, I found time. Okay, I have my weekends to dedicate to the course, and I have after hours dedicated towards my course. Either ways, if the conversation is kept open, I don't think that you need to push or rush anyone. Absolutely allow someone to take their time to finish the course. If you need any further clarification, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn and we can have a conversation over there. All right. So, okay, so we have a scenario. Employee is given a list of tasks to be performed during the year. In this task, he and she is supposed to analyze how to improve job performance. However, your senior management does not communicate what is expected out of it for better improvement. How should an employee react in such a situation? Should he shout out his opinions calmly or shout out opinions or calmly do his job? I think the answer is pretty clear. If your senior management has not communicated the expectations, go back to them and ask for clear expectation. The worst thing you can do here is just make an assumption and just keep doing a job, because I can guarantee you 9 out of 10 times you would have made a wrong assumption. Okay, if the senior management is adamant that management is adamant that they are not going to help you in this situation, the strategy that I have used in the past is a Kaizen strategy. What that means is I will do a little bit and I'll show them, is this what you want? Yes or no? If it's a no, okay, what do you want? If it's a yes, thumbs up, move on to the next part, do a little bit more. Okay, is this what you want? So what that does is instead of working on something for like a month and giving them something at the end of 30 days and figuring out that was totally wrong, you do like 2 days check-in, okay, to make sure that you are going on the right track. If the senior management gets annoyed that you are checking in with them every 2 days, your answer could be, sorry, I have to do this because the expectations were not clearly laid out. All right. Again, same thing. If you want to chat further, happy to continue this conversation on LinkedIn. Okay. Next one. Hi, Ankit. How can I decide on a single mentor to walk through my professional journey? Is it through professional help, like a personal gym trainer, or can I get in touch with different mentors' advice depending upon my needs? Very, very good question. So you would not believe the amount of time someone has asked me this question. Okay. I'm not sure why people feel so nervous about picking a mentor. I have had so many mentors and coaches over the last 10, 15 years. And guess what? Not all of them are great. Okay. Some are fabulous and they have changed my life significantly. And some are okay. But you know what? It's just an arrangement. Because if things are not working out with your mentor, all you have lost is a little bit of a time and a little bit of a money, but you can move on from there. Rather than just sitting and just worrying about where can I find the right mentor, I mean, you just have to reach out to the right people. Okay, you start having conversations. I just went to a webinar like this, similar to this, where the person was talking about communication skills, and more specifically presenting. And then I just reached out to him on LinkedIn, and we just started having conversations. And then he helped me, figuring out where my problems were, and we worked on them. So it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Okay. Is it true that there are websites that can read a resume which matches the job description? How should a candidate work on the resume? Very good question. Look, those websites are there, but I can guarantee you companies don't hire that way. The reason is, if a company is hiring you, they are investing in you. So they're not going to rely on a computer software to make a decision. If the website receives 200 emails, if you are not the right person for the job, like for example, if you are an accountant and if you apply for an engineering job, well, the website going to throw you out. But however, if you are close enough to the job description, the website will filter your resume and send it to the hiring manager, and then it relies on the hiring manager to make a decision whether they want to interview you or not. How should candidate work on the resume? The biggest tip I can give you there is making sure that your resume is not fixed for every job. Okay, if the job requires you to have knowledge of a certain software, make sure that if you know that software, you mention that. And if a job is for not-for-profit organization, like a charity organization, make sure that your resume is structured that way. So always change your resume a little bit to suit the job that you're applying for. Okay. The question that I have here is, what should be our goal from mentoring, and if your mentor is your top boss? I never like mentors who were my bosses for a variety of reasons. Number one reason, the availability. They are not available when I need them. Okay, so to give you an example, it's 7 o'clock in evening in Australia. If I need something from my mentor, I can call him right now. Okay, he's going to pick up my phone and he's going to answer any question or concern that I have. My boss is not going to do that. The other thing is, most people, I should say 99% of people, won't feel comfortable having open conversation with their bosses. So you can't go to your boss and say that, you know what, I'm struggling with my job. You can't go to your top boss and say that, you know what, I don't like the company. You can't go to your boss and say, hey, guess what, I need to work on my resume skills or my interview skills. Or, you you can't go to your boss and say, oh, you know what, I had a bit of a personal issue which is impacting my work. That's not going to happen. So you got to realize that all you can learn from your top boss is maybe business skills, maybe accounting skills if he's a finance boss. But apart from that, you're not going to get that 360. So I'm not really in favor of that. So again, what should be your top goal? There is a specific way to set up goals. What you can do is you can take, I'm just going to quickly go back to my slide here. So say if you did your skills analysis or your gap analysis this way, you would have got 8 things that you need work on, right? So that 8 things becomes your goal. It's as simple as that. Okay, and you can probably rank those 8 things from 1 to 8 and say, okay, this is the first thing that I need to improve, this is the second thing I need to improve, and you just work chronologically and be committed to that order and be resolved at the end. I hope that answers your question. And like I said, if you need any further clarification into any answers that I've given, just drop me a note on my LinkedIn. My LinkedIn profile looks like that. Happy to answer any further questions. Okay, have you got any further questions, Tonzo?
One last one.
Sure. Great engagement questions, by the way, to all the attendees. Really proud of you for asking those questions. It's never easy, but yeah, thank you for asking those questions. Okay, so how has the career progression trend changed before and after the outbreak? Look, it has changed a little bit, and in a positive way, I would say, because look, what's happened is, because people have been in a environment for the last 2 years, they have had a lot of time to evaluate and think about their own careers. So I personally am noticing that a lot of people are actually doing something more actively about their career progression, because they have realized that, I mean, if you just think about 2 years ago, doing webinars was never that popular. Right now, everyone's doing them. Okay, so people have realized that the accounting profession and the accounting industry has changed quite significantly over the last 2 years, and they need to keep up with it. So the trend is definitely changed before and after, but towards a positive, because as I said, people are more interested in talking about progression than they were before, because before it was just normal, right? You just not, the world was, so-called normal. You just go to work, you do your job, you come back. But now the last 2 years have given us an opportunity to rethink everything. Okay. Okay, Tonzo, I think these were our questions. Thank you. Look, thank you for your time and attendance today. I will pass it on to your ACCA organizer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ankit. Thank you very much for supporting us with the session today. I hope you all found it very useful. We will have a part 2 in the coming weeks, and we'll send out details about that shortly. As Ankit mentioned, should you have any questions or should you have anything else to talk to him about, please contact him with the details on the screen. And we look forward to welcoming you all on the next session. Thank you and have a good afternoon.
See you all.